So in summary, we have an unparalleled asset footprint, and that asset footprint drives huge growth opportunities for us. As a result of the El Paso acquisition, we've also got an inventory of drop-downs available for the MLPs, and those two things in combination drive very attractive growth at the MLPs. And so you can see here, we expect and target to grow KMP and EPB at about 5 to 6% per year, and KMI at about 9 to 10% per year. And that is all I have. And so I think we have 5 minutes remaining, and I'm happy to take a question if anybody has one. Do we? We don't have to sign our paychecks, but. Sure. So you can see, going back to our return slide, on our terminals, we earn about, on average on that business, we earn about I think it's about 13, I can't see right over there, but about a 13% return on our terminals business. And so that's consistent with what we target on a project like that, in that range, maybe slightly above. And it goes back to our philosophy, which is, if you're getting long-term contracts, you got to look at what's the length of the contract, what's the credit worthiness of the shipper, right? And how much risk, are you taking to build? And that goes to how complicated is the build, how large is it, and how over what period does it extend? Because the larger time it extends, the harder it is to be able to control those costs, because you're subject to more market forces. And so that takes you, when you look at those things, you say, okay, how much should that move me off my 12% return? And so typically, on a terminals business, you're going to target mid-teens types returns.
Hi, thank you very much. I have 2 questions. The first is, with all of the building of pipelines that's going on throughout the country, obviously there's a lot of new projects coming on the E&P side as well. What risks do you see in terms of displacement or cannibalization of your competitors' existing pipelines from the new pipelines that are being built?
Well, over time, as supply basins shift, you have some pipe that gets underutilized. And I think, the great news, though, is it is always good to have assets in the ground. And so, what we've been successful at doing over time is taking those pipelines that are underutilized as supply basin shift and converting them to another use. And, just a couple examples. Cochin Pipeline, which was built to transport propane, out of Canada down into Chicago and then back up into eastern Canada, had seen some decline in volumes over time as the natural gas production in Canada, or the export of the natural gas production, declined. Well, we are converting that pipeline to take diluent back up into Canada, and we've got long-term contracts to do it, and that actually is going to come online in mid-2014. And so what's happening there is you've got the diluent volumes are coming out of the Houston Ship Channel as a result of the production in the Eagle Ford. They're moving up another pipeline into Cochin, and then Cochin's taking it back up into Canada. Another example is we had an underutilized leg on our natural gas pipeline in Texas. And we were able to take that pipeline and convert it to a condensate pipeline. And so, we only had to build a segment of a new pipeline, which allowed our project to be very competitive in the market in terms of the rates we could offer, but also it resulted in us earning a very attractive return. And so I think that, as much as is a threat, as supply basin shifts, is also a big opportunity.
Great.
How do you decide drop-down opportunities between KMP and EPB?
Yeah. So there's 2 assets remaining, and I guess you're asking me where I think those 2 assets are going to go. because that's the only two we have in inventory at KMI. And so I think, we look at, where does KMI get the most accretion? We look at who has the better strategic fit on that asset, and who potentially has some additional synergies as a result of that. And then it's really a function of the independent boards. We make a recommendation to the independent boards, and then they negotiate the sales price between the two the non-management members of those boards.
Sense to combine EPB and KMP?
Sure. So what we said at the time of the El Paso acquisition was we liked having the two MLPs out there because it allowed us to accelerate drop down because you had two potential avenues to drop down. And so as a result of that, we were able to, what we originally thought we were going to do in 3 years, I think we're now going to end up wrapping up in 2014, so it's going to be about a little over 2 years by the time we get all the assets dropped down. And so, beyond that, I think it's a question of when, if ever, does it make economic sense to combine those two? And then again, it's a function of the independent boards deciding that makes sense, and then the limited partners voting on that. And so, if the economics work, I think it would be great to combine them. But if the economics don't work and it's not good for everybody, then we have no issue running the two separate MLPs. There's not a huge administrative burden in doing that. I think we're out of time. Thanks, everyone.